Lions have a new cornerbacks coach and old friends coming home. We'll talk about it next, right here on a Thursday Locked On Lions.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's good, everybody? Matt Dery with you. It's a Thursday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out on Thursday, February 2nd and Friday, February 3rd. Appreciate you listening or watching. If you're checking us out on the YouTube channel, the Locked On Lions YouTube, please subscribe, comment. We always love to hear from you. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at Dery Speaks, Dery Speaks, at Locked On Lions on Twitter, the Matt Dery Facebook fan page as well. Locked On Lions today is a proudly and staunchly brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. You pick 2 to 6 players. If they score more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 25 times your money on your entry. You can play every day. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. That's prizepicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. Coming up on the show today, Taylor Decker speaks about Duce Staley leaving. And man, it was really, really great to hear from a player about an assistant coach. And just, again, it kind of affirms the culture that is going on at 222 Rodwood Drive in Allen Park. Also, an old friend is coming back. He's got Dan Campbell ties and will coach the cornerbacks. We'll get into that coming up momentarily. A lot more to discuss. Andrew Siciliano tomorrow, promise, tomorrow on Locked On Lions, live and direct from Mobile. He'll be on the call of the Senior Bowl Saturday afternoon on the NFL Network. All right, rarely have we had any kind of a negative on this show lately. The Lions have been so positive. People are excited about the Lions. People are into what the Lions are doing. Let me just do something here. I got to mess with something with my camera. People are excited. People are refreshed. Many people are going to be picking the Lions to win the NFC North next year. There's so much positivity that is going on with the Detroit Lions that rarely have we said anything negative about anything that has gone on with the franchise over the last few years, or over the last few months, I should say, not years, months. Dan Campbell's got us bought in. Ben Johnson's staying. The Lions have 5 of the first 82 picks in the draft. You figure they're going to be going after some pretty good free agents. They've got some guys to re-sign, but there's some momentum going on in Allen Park. There's no arguing that at all. So that is a really, really good sign. Today, the Lions made a hire that I'm still scratching my head about. And that is that they've announced, and Dre Bly made it official himself as well on his Twitter. Dre is coming back to Detroit, the former Lion Pro Bowl cornerback, to coach the Lions cornerbacks in 2023. So let me give you a little backstory on this. If you don't know anything about Dre Bly other than that he played for the Lions, he was a really good player. He was at times outspoken, pretty popular in the locker room, all of these things. Dre Bly played with Dan Campbell for 1 season in 2006 when Campbell was on the Lions. Dre Bly was a special assistant coach in 2017 in sort of a Rooney Rule type of situation. He was designated as a like a special coach, a special African-American coach or something in 2017 with the New Orleans Saints, as at that time the NFL was really promoting trying to diversify and add some diversity to coaching staffs. And so Dre Bly worked with the Saints in 2017, so he was around Dan Campbell for a second time at that point. Dre Bly most recently was the cornerbacks coach for North Carolina, University of North Carolina, working under Mack Brown. The Tar Heels secondary was brutal this year, like 116th in the country against the pass. Wasn't very good, struggled, and Dre Bly was fired. He was let go as cornerbacks coach. They call it a mutual parting between he and Mack Brown. Dre Bly played at North Carolina, all-time leader in interceptions, all of these things. And he went on to a really, really good NFL career, of course, with the Rams, the Lions, and it'll come to me where else he played. Might have been the Jets. But Dre Bly, Broncos, Dre Bly was really good, really good. But he was let go as the cornerbacks coach at an ACC school. All right? North Carolina's decent in football, but it's a basketball school. Let's just take Dre Bly out of the mix for a second here. If I would have told you that the Lions were hiring the fired cornerbacks coach from an ACC school that's not very good at football. I mean, North Carolina, all right, let me take that back. North Carolina had a decent year this year, and their quarterback is really good. And he's likely going to be like one of the top picks next year. But if I would have told you that a dispatched and fired cornerbacks coach from an ACC college school team was becoming the Lions cornerbacks coach, you'd tell me that's crazy. Why would you do that? I'm not picking on Dre Bly. I'm making a point that he did not do a good enough job to keep his job at his alma mater in college. And yet here he is becoming the cornerbacks coach for the Lions. Now, again, if Aaron Glenn stays and he's having a second interview with the Colts for their head coaching job. But if Aaron Glenn stays, it's most likely he's still going to keep tabs on the secondary. All right. Aubrey Pleasant was fired last year. Lions have other coaches that have moved up, etc. But this is a little weird, and I know this is what the Lions do under Dan Campbell. They hire former players everywhere. And you know what? This year it worked. The Lions coaching staff did a bone-up job. They did a great job. Hank Fraley, former player, offensive line. Antoine Randall, former player, wide receivers. Kelvin Shepard, former player, linebackers. Aaron Glenn, former player, D coordinator. All over the place. Duce Staley, former player, assistant head coach and running backs. And we'll get to Duce Staley momentarily. Mark Brunell, former player, quarterbacks coach. All right, the list goes on and on. Sean Dion Hamilton, former player, defensive assistant. It worked. The Lions got the most out of their talent. The staff did an excellent job, and they won 9 games this year. And it was a successful season. So I'm not going to rip it to shreds, but I'm just saying I don't love this. A failed secondary cornerbacks coach at North Carolina getting an opportunity as a former Lion to come home to be the cornerbacks coach. I almost think this is like a favor. This almost looks like the buddy system a little bit. Oh, yeah, Dre Bly, buddies with Dan Campbell from 2006 and 2017. I don't know. I'm not excited about that. Hey, Dre Bly's cool. All right, was good with the media. Was a Pro Bowler. Let's see if he can do the job. But I'm a little bothered by this because this almost looks like a buddy hire rather than the right hire. All right. Taylor Decker speaks on Duce Staley leaving. We got to give a shout out to the Honolulu Blues podcast. Nick, Julius, and Adam DM'd Decker, and he came on the show. Maybe I should try that. But we'll do that coming up next. You'll hear from Taylor Decker. But we're very excited about our new sports betting partner. We got to be. FanDuel is here, the number one sports book. All right, is with us here on Locked On Lions. And if I don't put the right, there we go. If I don't put the right thing up on the screen, the graphic, I'm going to get fired. Download FanDuel now so you can bet on the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 57 is here. We got a no sweat first bet, and you'll get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel lets you bet on everything from the money line to point spreads to who will score a touchdown. All right? FanDuel Sportsbook app is safe, secure, and super easy to use. Everybody I know is on FanDuel, and they love it. All right? Best of all, you can get paid your winnings. Get paid your winnings, if I could speak, instantly. All right? So join FanDuel today at FanDuel.com/lockedon to claim your no sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57 between the Eagles and the Chiefs. How about them Chiefs? Richard Christie's Chiefs. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, I want you to take a listen to something here. The Honolulu Blues podcast. Shout out to Nick, Julius, and Adam. These guys had Taylor Decker on their show. We're going to play the audio, courtesy of Honolulu Blues podcast. He was asked yesterday on the show, I guess they had him on last night, about the loss of Deuce Staley from the coaching staff. Take a listen to this. Really good audio here of Taylor Decker on the Honolulu Blues podcast.
First and foremost, I will say Deuce called me this morning. We probably talked for 10, 15 minutes about it. I believe he called every single person, at least on the offense.
Wow, that's awesome.
I believe he called all of them. Before he called me, he said he had spoken to all the running backs. He was trying to reach every single guy individually. And I know there's been a little bit of details out to the media that it's for personal reasons mostly. It's not because he doesn't want to be a part of our organization. It's not because he doesn't love us. But he needs to do what's best for his family, and I respect him as a man for that, because he's a guy's guy and a man's man, and he's got to handle his business. And you can't say a bad thing about that, especially given the fact that he joined the Lions organization when we were coming off some really tough times. And I remember one of his first meetings with the team, he kind of took pride in like wanting to come here and build something special. And man, he was just like a leader of men. Like he's a great guy. Can command a room really well. From his like playing pedigree, like, you know, you command respect. Like you did it. So yeah, we're gonna miss him, man. I mean, he was a great motivator. I think he was great for our young backs. I mean, he would tell Swift all the time that he believed he could be the best back in the league, and for your coach to instill that belief in you was super powerful. Him and Jamal had a really, really special relationship. I mean, you'd see those guys, you know, laughing, crying, everything together. And I mean, Jamal had the best year of his career, set all sorts of great records and stuff like that. I mean, he's just an awesome guy. And like I said, I know it was, you know, a lot for personal reasons, and I respect him for that. And like I told him, I was like, man, you're being a man and you're doing what you have to do, and it's a hard decision. But I'm sure I know for a fact Dan was like, absolutely, you do what you got to do. And I know all of us will miss him and wish him the best.
All right, so there's Taylor Decker talking about Duce Staley. That took me aback a little bit. Not that I didn't think that the players didn't like Deuce Staley or even love Deuce Staley. But, man, when we talk about chemistry, when you talk about what the Lions are building right now, and you look at some of the other teams and the movement that happens on rosters, the firings that take place within the coaching staff, the infighting that goes on, to hear Taylor Decker tell the story to these guys at the Honolulu Blues podcast. Great job by them getting Taylor Decker. That Deuce Staley called each and every guy, spent probably 10 to 15 minutes on the phone with just about everybody. Maybe longer with a guy like Decker that, you know, is a talker and a leader on the team and a veteran. I don't think he spoke for 15 minutes with Jamison Williams. I could be wrong. I'm not, you know what I mean? Is really something that we've been waiting for here in Detroit for a long, long time with this franchise. I mean, we've been waiting for the Lions to have cohesiveness, cohesion, coordination, integration, everything that goes into winning. And they have it. And here's a player that has been through a lot of crap. It's been on some bad teams, still is around in Taylor Decker saying, look, this is going to be a loss. But Deuce Staley made it a point to tell the players, this is a personal thing. He didn't want to get into it. Taylor didn't, but there were reports that Staley's mom lives down in South Carolina. He wanted to be closer to his family. It was a family thing and a personal matter. But he wanted to make it clear to the team and to the players that he called each and every one of them that, hey, I'm not jumping ship. I'm not leaving the Lions because Carolina's a better job or something else is happening. I'm doing this for me. And from a personal standpoint, I need to do this. And again, Duce Staley has a relationship with Frank Reich. He's going to be closer to becoming a head coach one day if that Panthers offense is popping next year. So that's really, really cool. It's neat. And just wow. Like, it's what we've been waiting for. It's what you've been waiting for as a Lions fan, is to hear stories like that. How many times do we hear infighting with this coach? This coach couldn't wait to leave. This guy didn't get along with this guy. This coach failed. This, Joe Lombardi, Golden Tate on my radio show years ago. We know that the other team knows our plays. This guy's incompetent. Why is Caldwell keeping Lombardi around? Why is Ron Prince still here under Caldwell? What about Matt Patricia and some of his coaching staff members? Were they in over their head? I could go on and on. There's no reason to rehash that. This was Deuce Staley leaving the Lions, and it was almost like he was leaving home and his like his second family. He felt bad about it. Called every single guy. Amazing. We're talking about the Lions here. That's pretty incredible. All right, coming up next, there could be a change at CBS. And something's going on with Tony Romo, which is very, very interesting. I know I bring this up constantly, but I got to end the show with it. We will do that coming up next. Now I can tell you about PrizePicks. I put it up on the screen before. But hey, daily fantasy that is fun. And the great thing about PrizePicks is if you pick 2 to 6 players and they, beat their projection, and you could win 25 times your money, and all of this stuff is great. But what's great about PrizePicks, whether it's PrizePicks.com or the app, is it's all the sports. Not that FanDuel doesn't do that either, but for PrizePicks, all right, with projections, you can, like Michigan basketball tonight at Northwestern. You want to put some money down on, Jet Howard, Jace Howard, Every Howard. You can do that at PrizePicks.com on the app. You can do it for NBA with the Pistons. You can do it with the Red Wings. All of that stuff. NHL All-Star Weekend, anything you want at PrizePicks.com. No competing against other people. It's just you against the projections available. You pick 2 to 6 players. You can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. It is awesome. Download the PrizePicks app or go to PrizePicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. Don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. All right, so I've been harping on this the last couple of days, and I'm going to put it to rest after this unless there's a big change made. But I saw 2 news stories today of note. Number one, Greg Olson's calling the Super Bowl for Fox. I think he's an up-and-coming color analyst that's done a nice job working with Kevin Burkhardt, and he's going to call the Super Bowl. But Greg Olson apparently has an out in his contract, all right, leaving open the possibility, prayer hands, that CBS does not have Tony Romo back as their number 1 analyst next year, and Greg Olson could slide over and work with Jim Nantz. Wouldn't that be great? And Andrew Marchand from New York Post reported on his podcast yesterday that CBS executives had to have like a come to Jesus emergency meeting with Tony Romo during the season to sit him down as an intervention to tell him to start preparing better and prepping for these games better and researching better. Because last week, if you heard me mention this the other day, Tony Romo was so bad in the AFC Championship game, Chiefs and Bengals with Jim Nantz. He didn't even know what Burrowhead was. He was calling it Burrow Land. And he was just awful. And it sounds like CBS executives are sitting him down like, hey, dude, get off the golf course during the week and watch some tape, learn some players' names, and prepare yourself. NFL games and NFL broadcasts are too important. We're watching that 4 o'clock game every week. We're watching everything. We love the sport. We're addicted to it. The NFL is king. It's not even close. NFL offseason sometimes is more exciting than any of these other sports regular seasons. So when you have an AFC championship game, in a few years, CBS will get the Super Bowl back. I don't want to have to mute my TV or be so annoyed by one of the TV commentators. Remember how bad Monday Night Football was a few years ago with Jason Witten and Booger McFarland? They got rid of both guys because the broadcast was terrible. So Tony Romo better get better, better get back to the form he was his first year, and then they gave him that 10-year, $180 million contract, or slide Greg Olsen in, move him over from Fox to CBS and put Romo in the studio or something. Or make him work with Greg Gumbel. So, interesting nugget there from the New York Post and Andrew Marchand. Andrew Siciliano tomorrow from Mobile. We'll talk some Senior Bowl. This has been a Thursday episode of A Locked On Lions.